against Matt Rogers, of course, on
Yeah.
this Dorinthia here. So how do you feel going into like the finals? Yeah, you had to beat him twice. Was there anything kind of going in your mind in terms of like siding, or is there anything that worked that
I,
you really want to do in your final game?
so I was feeling pretty nervous about it, to be honest. Matt is, I would say, one of the best players in the world, and
Mhm.
I've played Magic with him for years, and he's good at card games. And
Mhm.
also, after we played our first match, I was like, I feel like Matt Rogers learnt more from that match than I did. Um, so then when we played our second match in top eight, he had like totally changed his plan, and I hadn't changed mine enough. I was kind of like, like I had talked it over and been like, okay, I think some of these cards I don't really want. I don't want as many Art of Wars, for example. Um, some of these cards aren't that good. But the like having the skull horn, like I really like against warrior, but way less when they
Right.
kind of know what your game plan is and what you're up
Mm.
to. So yeah, I felt like he had really adapted a ton in the first match of our top eight. So then, when it came to the finals, I was kind of like, well, I need to kind of shift as well in order to kind of keep up with where he's moved to.
Mhm.
So yeah, I changed a few cards around. Also, I was finding that so there's one card in my deck I think basically shouldn't be in the list at all. I think it's bad, weirdly, because it's one of
Mhm.
the like best cards in your deck when it's the first two, and the third one apparently is terrible. Um,
Mm.
but the third Reckless Swing, the
Yeah, I was
blue
about to
defense
say,
reaction.
is it the reckless swing? I'm pretty sure you're talking about the reckless swing there.
Yeah, yeah. It turns out I hate it. I don't think it should be in the deck. I think two is perfect. But yeah, I was like, well, obviously I want this against Warrior. Its defense reaction is really good. But then
Mhm.
when I was actually playing in the first match against Rogers in the top eight, I was like, this is actually not good. Like,
Mm.
there are definitely turns where I have to take hits and give him counters. And that means that what I want to do on the next turn often is just block for my whole hand. And that's not really viable if you have these bad cards that cost 2 cards to block for 4. That's just
Sure,
rubbish. Get them out.
sure.
So yeah, I cut one of those, and I cut some other wars, and I cut some red pack hunts as well. Um,
Right,
Mostly just because I had too many reds when I was playing him yesterday,
right.
and that felt. I mean, the deck felt pretty good most of the time in the finals. There was maybe one turn where I kind of bricked a little bit off my Blood Rush Bellows. I had 2
Right.
reds, and I was like, oh.
You just pitched them both, right? It just was it, I think you
Yeah, I
Chris
think that was
R or
actually
something like that.
incorrect. I think what I should have done is pitched the Barrage and Bighorn that turn and just taken the risk that I'm not intimidating him because actually don't have to. Even
Mhm.
if I'm just getting my defense reaction, if he wants to block with 3 cards on my 8 attack, that's actually fine. That's really fine by me. And then I can put my Alpha
Mhm.
Rampage in Arsenal. So I think that was, I didn't notice many misplays that I made in the finals, but that was one
Mhm.
that I think was
Mhm.
wrong.
Fair enough. Question about just equipment. When to roll scab skins? I know this is like a thing for a lot of brute players. Never roll the scab skin. It's never worth it. You get the one and you're gonna cry yourself to sleep kind of thing. But it's really like you live by brute, die by brute. Is there kind of like a kind of go in? Do you have a kind of rule, or do you kind of just shift it based on like if you can win the game, you roll it, or
Yeah.
you don't?
Yeah. So I, was when I was sort of testing this deck and kind of putting the deck together and kind of figuring how to play it, I was mostly talking to I don't know if you guys like Haddendale and Jason Long who do
Yeah.
the Channel Fireball stuff.
Hmm.
They're like a couple of really good friends of mine and both better at Fab than I am. um, and this is a total tangent, but Haddendale also gave me the almost exact deck list. I think it was maybe 73 or 72 out of 75
Hmm.
cards that I won Magic Nationals with here in New Zealand.
Hmm.
So he's had a history of giving me good deck lists in the past, especially for events he can't show up to.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, they're kind of in 2 very different camps, right? Hayden is kind of on the like, oh, you don't want to take risks, right? Because he's like, he's really, really good, um, and um, like he just feels like if he can stay in the game, if he's not getting blown out, he'll be able to grind out his opponent through just being better than them, right?
Right.
Um, like he can just leverage his like incredible experience and skill at the game to probably get there. So he's quite like way more risk averse. Whereas Jason, he's a maniac. He's like, nah, just go for it every time. If you can, take a chance and it might win you the game, just go nuts.
Right.
So yeah, kind of being pulled in those two different directions. I
Mhm.
think ultimately, if Scabskins gives you a good chance of winning the game, or if the downside is pretty low, I think you should roll it. Like
Right.
if, if your scab skin is like 75% to get you way ahead, that's a good roll. If your
Mhm.
scab skin is like 50% to give you advantage, and like even if you hit a one, your hand's bad anyway, and you just, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, but I think those are the times to roll it, either when the risk is low or the reward is high. And that's kind of,
Mhm.
and there's not a rule. It's probably not very helpful because it's kind of obvious. It's like, well, when should you gamble? Well, when the payoff is good or the risk is low.
Right.
That's kind of that's the mindset I went into it with.
Right. Fair enough. I do see your I can't see your TTS on the Facebook now, so I'm just looking at your equipment really quickly. I do see the Romping Club in there. Is that
Yeah.
ever kind of? I'm just curious. I don't think I've seen you. I just saw you use it in the tournament, but is there a specific scenario where
Yeah.
you do want to play that?
Yeah. So against Ninja, it's 100%
Okay.
for Ninja. It's not for any
Okay.
other players.
Fair enough.
In theory, like so we were discussing this, and there is some argument to be made that you played against Warrior as well.
Mhm.
I think that's 100% wrong, and you don't want to do that ever. So I basically
Right.
listened to that argument for about 5 seconds, decided it was terrible, and then just never brought Brompen Club in against Warrior, just because like there's kind of two schools of thought when playing Brute against Warrior. One is the kind of like do good blocks and then just get in and like try to kind of grind them. And that's certainly not something I want to do. It's especially not something I want to be doing in someone like Matt Rogers, right? Who's really good at Fab. I
Yeah.
don't want to be getting into a grind fest with him. I want to be making big swings, forcing him into awkward
Mhm.
positions, making him have to like make choices he doesn't want to, right?
Right.
Um, so only Ninja.
Only Ninja.
Um,
Got it. Okay. Fair enough.
and then obviously this is the stuff where you want Arcane Barrier.
Yeah, I get the odd Rune Blade deck maybe, or I guess Wizard coming in if it
Yeah,
made it a little
exactly.
bit further. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, didn't have too many. I think we did have Jesse Watson, one of the pods. I don't think he was in the top 8 cut, but definitely would have been useful if you saw him coming out of top 8 to have some have some null rune just in case. So it
Yeah,
kind of definitely
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I
I
mean,
guess we can.
I full on have a love affair with Wizard. It's the class that got me into playing Fab, just because I was like looking
Mhm.
at the game like there's too much blocking, too much attacking. I'm not into that. I'd rather cast spells.
Yeah.
And then Jason showed me Wizard. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm keen after all. Um,
Fair enough.
and I was
I
like
mean,
playing that. I'm like, this feels like so much fun. Um,
yeah,
and I
fair
was playing
enough.
it really bad. I played it at Fab Nationals here, and I played it so badly, like offensively poorly. Um, but
Offensively, I like that.
yeah, moved on to playing it in Blitz, and in
Right.
Blitz it feels just incredible. And
Yeah.
like I should have made the top 8 for the last calling, but I played like an absolute idiot. So when I say I should have, I shouldn't have. I was an idiot, but my deck should have. My deck gave
Right.
me the resources to get there. It was, I mean, almost exactly the same list as Jason Long's, to be honest. I think we were playing maybe one card different and one equipment different, but that was like irrelevant.
Fair enough.
Um,
Yeah, we can
so
go through your deck list here. I do
the actual
see it
deck,
on the screen, so you can just kind of show the cards, kind of why, maybe a little bit about like kind of why they're in there, why you chose them. If
yeah,
there's some reason why you take them out in certain matchups, maybe a little bit about
yeah,
that too on specific cards.
yeah, yeah. So this is basically a bad card. Mostly it's in there because it's yellow and it's a tech 6.
Right.
Um, whatever.
Pretty simple.
Um, yeah, with Pack Hunt, I was actually putting some of these out against Warrior,
Hmm.
on the theory that you want fewer reds because you like are boarding in all your defense reactions and they're all red, so you're going to end up with awkward hands like your Blood Rush Bellows. So I boarded
Hmm.
out 1 to 2 pack hunts depending on whether I decided I wanted the extra Art of War or not.
Sure.
Um, this is Warrior. This is obviously amazing. This is just kind of core brute gear.
Hmm.
Um, this is obviously just it's a yellow tech 6. You want heaps of those by mental. This absolutely phenomenal card. Someone suggested I should maybe be cutting a Massacre instead of a Pack Hunt in the Warrior matchup. They're like, oh, maybe Pack Hunt's better than Massacre. Um, I'm not going to say who that person was because people are going to know who they are, and I don't want to call them out or anything. But they know who
Fair
they
enough.
are, and they know they're a scrum. Um,
Fair enough.
so Yeah, this card's absolutely phenomenal. Like, it just helps you so much with all your big turns, and
Yeah.
also like having the opportunity to just occasionally. And I think I got to do it against someone, maybe once or twice this tournament. Just
Mhm.
like live the dream and just go barraging beatdown, pitch a blue, play Alpha Rampage, discard Massacre. You have no hand. It's turn 1. You know, you're taking
Yep.
13. You have no options.
Yeah. That was
Um,
yeah, that's a good you don't get much better turn ones out of there unconstructed.
yeah, so this is obviously more core brute stuff, more core brute stuff.
Mhm.
Most of the stuff is not very, like, there's not that much spicy tech. This is a real interesting choice. This is another Jason Long special. And it's meh, it's not very good, but it's blue. And you can theoretically attack with it, I guess.
Sure. This
Um,
the
and it
blue
blocks 3.
savages.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, most of this is pretty straightforward, just good brute cards, right?
Yeah, your Rekarams, Alphas.
Yeah, obviously Command and Conquer,
Changes.
fantastic card.
Yeah.
All the barraging beatdowns you can play
Mhm.
because they're amazing. Yeah, this card's really good to have 2 of, really bad to have 3 of.
Mhm.
So yeah, I
So
think
just kind of bricking if you draw like a couple of them and like reckless into like
yeah,
another reckless or something like
it's
that.
so gross. I actually
Yeah.
had 2 of them early on against Matt in that game, and I was just like, oh, I have to just like try to pitch these, and I have to do like awkward blocks just to get this stupid card out of my hand. Luckily, I
Yeah.
managed to get a sync below, and like after I pitched one, so I could sync the other stupid ones with one I did.
Fair
This is one of, which was quite interesting. I think this is another piece of Jason Long tech. It was awesome. I loved it every time I brought it in. I think it came in against Warrior and Guardian and maybe nothing else.
Mhm.
It could have come in against Azalea, but I don't think I actually did bring it in there.
Right. Just
Yeah,
blocking
obviously,
like the really big attacks kind of thing. Just like the
yeah,
1-up just really helps with like I don't know, crush effects and stuff like that. And
yeah. Anything that's like, crippling crush or anything, just being able to have a good amount of block on something is pretty good. Obviously, there's just some classic defense reactions here.
Mhm.
I've got 2 Fate for Scenes, 3 Sync Belows. I didn't really put much thought into that. I just sort of copied them from Jason's list. I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty good.
Fair enough.
So one of these came out for this Reckless Swing.
Okay.
Or maybe it came out for something else and then I put the Reckless Swing over it. Doesn't matter. There were 3 of these. I hate this card with a passion. I hate
Oh
it
yeah.
so much.
Okay.
I've come around to it of being obviously good because it's yellow, which is kind of what you want in Brew. Like, yellow's pretty good, and also like getting it into Arsenal is really good, and like Ninja and Warrior and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I've come around to the fact there should be 2 in the deck, but man, I hate it so much. I just feel like I always draw it when I've got a full Arsenal, and like I've just got this awful defend 2 in hand,
Mhm.
and I double discard to brute attack. Oh, why is this card in my deck? So yeah, good card. One I have a personal gripe with.
Personal bias again. Okay, fair enough. It comes in handy
Yeah.
though.
This one also, I really wanted to put a 3rd Arg Smasher, and I was like, oh guys, we should stick a 3rd Arg Smasher. And I was talked around. I was like convinced that that's bad. And they were 100% right. It is bad. Yeah, you don't have that many blows. You don't want to be like pitching 2 cards to play Arg Smash and then do nothing else for the rest of the turn. That's not good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 2's heaps. Like, if you get 1 off and you hit a bunch of their items,
Mhm.
like, you probably win. Like,
Yeah.
Dash is already like your best matchup by miles, and if
Right.
suddenly the best thing about their character is in their graveyard, I mean, that's
Right. Fair
trying to
enough.
play Dash without items is like trying to play Wizard without spells, right? It's just bad.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, the card's fantastic. I think 2's correct. Obviously this is just classic broke gear, good attacks. Yeah, energy potion. I think it's excellent. I had it in against Dash. I didn't have it in against Warrior because you'd want cards that can block.
Mhm.
So I didn't actually have it in that much in this tournament, but yeah, just it's really good against Dash. Also, like, it's another blow that you can play Arg Smash off of.
Right. So
And also, like, it's something that you can kind of play early if you've got a bad hand, or like if you roll your scab skins and just like, oh, I get an extra action,
right.
I could stick in the potion. It just helps you set up massive turns where you can kill your opponent. So against decks where you're trying to set up massive turns where you can kill your opponents, so like OTK Runeblade or Dash, right?
Right. Does
And
this
yeah, energy
does the energy potion, does that ever go to 1, or is that always 2? Is that always kind of just 2 in every matchup, or is that changed
So
at
I
all?
think I think basically it's 2 or none, right? Because
Okay.
it really you only wanted in like 2 matchups, and in those matchups it's really good, and in other
Mhm.
matchups it's complete garbage. So get it out.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't think of a matchup. I mean, there's probably wrong. I'm probably wrong because I have done nowhere near enough testing. But yeah, I don't
Fair enough.
think you ever go to 1. I think it's 0 or 2. Out of war, I had 3 of these. Yeah, I didn't really like this card when I first started playing it because I was playing with it really badly. Because I
Mhm.
was playing the game really badly. um, but yeah, absolutely phenomenal card in this deck. It's like a bad Blood Rush Bellows, but Blood Rush Bellows
Mhm.
is the best card in your deck. So
Right.
a bad one is still really good.
Right. Fair enough.
And yeah, it works really well with obviously Savage Feast and stuff, and being able to like, oh, draw some cards, get my thing go again, and then play this, intimidate you,
Right.
draw a card, and then
Yeah.
like go again, and I can probably get in with claws or play another attack or do whatever, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
it's mostly there. I mean, it's flexible, but you're mostly drawing out of this. You're mostly getting it for
uh,
like some more ammo to keep
yeah, I
going.
don't think I ever didn't draw. I don't think it.
Mm.
I don't think the draw cards mode was ever in question. I think that one might be non-optional. I think the card says choose one, also do this
Yeah.
other thing.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I to be honest, I'd forgotten about the defend with attack action cards from your arsenal card mode. I forgot that existed.
Mhm.
Um, I
Fair
did the
enough.
plus
Okay.
one. I did the +1 a couple of times, and I did the go again a few times.
Mhm.
And they're both quite good.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, obviously Beast Within is just a good card. You know, you draw cards. Just go, it's fantastic. Yeah, this is MVP by such a margin. This card's so good.
Bellows. Yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously why the claws are in the deck, right?
Right.
So the club is awesome, and like it does a ton of work, but it's
Mhm.
way worse when you have this card. And when you have this card, it's the best turn you can have in the game. So I mean, except for I guess the Alpha Rampage thing is technically can be better,
Yeah.
although this and then into the Alpha Rampage thing quite a lot better. Which is also how I bet Jacob Pearson, by the way, because that's also apparently quite a bad matchup. But if you go
Mhm.
turn 1, attack for 15, you can't block any of it. That's quite good.
Yeah.
That's
Fair enough.
that's a tip for all your viewers out there. If you're playing Brute and you can attack your opponent for 15 and intimidate their whole hand on turn 1,
You
that
should do it.
will really help you win games. that's that's Dan Mackay's pro tip. Um,
Small advantage there. Just a small one.
yeah, yeah. So this card's absolutely incredible. Best card in the deck by such a margin,
Right.
and it's why the Mandible Claws are good
Yeah.
because you can play this and then get in with claw, and then attack, and that's just an amazing turn.
Yeah, and is that I guess the Bellows is just one of those really good cards in the arsenal in your hand. It doesn't really matter where you put it. You can set up
Yeah,
these big turns
yeah.
regardless of
But
where it is.
basically, wherever it is, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, yeah, it works quite well even off only 4 cards. If you can get it to 5, like those turns can be absolutely disgusting.
Hmm.
Um, you can have these turns where you just go bellows into another bellows,
Oh yeah.
and your
Okay.
opponent's just sitting there going,
Oh, you got 4 cards out of that. Seems worth it.
yeah. And then like all of a sudden, so your attacks have like +4, and you're attacking with claws for 7, and then if you've got the resources to play another attack as well, I mean that's just disgusting.
Mhm.
This is such a tangent. I don't know how many tangents you really want in this interview, but we're playing a Blitz event at a local store recently, and I was playing
Mhm.
a Brute deck because I was sort of sick of playing Wizard, and also I don't own my own eye, and the guy who I would have otherwise borrowed one off was there as well, and he might want to play with it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, we're playing a mirror Brute, and I was like, I took have a couple bad hands, block out a little bit, take a bit of damage, and then I took a bunch of damage, and then went to my turn and went Blood Rush Bellow, draw another Blood Rush Bellow, play that. I think I attacked him for 28. Um, it was on quite a bit, but not that much.
Yeah,
And he
that's
was just like, "This is so stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
yeah, fair enough.
Um, yeah, so yeah, absolutely best card in the deck by just the widest margin. It's incredible.
Fair
Um,
enough.
and yeah, obviously all this stuff is sort of regular kit. This card, yeah, I think this is really for Ninja, and that's it.
Okay.
Um, I can't really think of when else I'd want it. Maybe Wizard.
Yeah, I've never. I
Um,
think none of the games I saw or casted for you, I've never actually seen that played. You must have just cut it
yeah,
out at
it's
the
because
beginning
it
of
wasn't in
every
my
game.
deck in any game this tournament. It's
Yeah.
in there for Ninja. Never played Ninja. Never brought it
Mhm.
in.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, it hasn't actually been in my deck for the whole tournament, but it has, it's been there ready to be if I played against Ninja.
Mhm.
Um,
Fair enough. Okay.
yeah, as far as I can tell, that's really all it's for. Maybe Wizard as well, to be honest, but I never played that either.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's Dash. Also, I suppose OTK Ringblade as well. I mean, it sort of hangs out with Energy Potion. Um,
Okay. Very, very
I
specific.
really don't like Remembrance. This is sort of similar to Springboard Somersault. I also hate Remembrance.
Mhm.
I get that it's good, but I just feel like it doesn't block. It's awkward. I feel like I draw it. I'm like, oh, I don't like this in my hand. But yeah,
Mhm.
against Dash, it was pretty good. I got to bring back an Arg Smash in one of the matchups and like an Alpha Rampage and something else that was good. I'm like, okay, well, this is doing some work.
Mhm.
And then obviously these are the two Reckless ones. These two should be in the deck. These two are amazing. That other one, I don't know where it's gone. This one, that can go away. I'm gonna throw that right off the table. But these two
Mhm.
are awesome. I love these two.
So what are you replacing that last card slot with if you're taking out the third
Um,
Reckless Swing?
I don't know.
Fair
So
enough.
basically, I'm gonna well, probably I'm gonna have a nap after this. Um, and then maybe I might do some actual work for the day. But following that, I'll probably have a chat with Jason and Hayden later tonight and be like, okay, what are we replacing this Reckless Swing with? Yeah, it could be one of these, to be honest, just another yellow attack.
Mhm.
It could be. So I really like the attack 6, cost 2 dominate. If you've discarded a 6 or more this turn, can't remember what it's called. But I really like that card. I slightly want to fit one in. I have a sneaking suspicion that's terrible, and I should just not do that
Is
because it's
that
probably
that
too many reds.
regurgitating slog or something, or is that no? That's not.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I
it's
think
for
I.
it's for blood rush turns with claws basically. But I have
Oh,
a
okay,
sneaking
okay.
suspicion that's super greedy and bad, and I shouldn't do that. It's
Fair enough.
like it's plausibly good in blitz where you probably don't want to run tunic. You probably want like either the backbone strapping or Hutton cross strap.
Mhm.
So like having that kind of thing is maybe better there. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's just complete garbage, and I shouldn't even be saying it on this because Hayden and Jason are gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, no, don't put that card in your bag. Um, so probably it'll be another Wilder would be my guess, just because this is kind of already filling in the slot of sort of 79th card or 80th card or 81st card,
Right.
depending on whether you count a hero. So
Right.
yeah, probably one of these. I mean, it could be back to another Springboard Somersault, but I genuinely hate this card, so I don't think I can bring myself to play full 3.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it might be this.
Fair enough. So that's the deck here. So I guess my next question here is I know you played Matt a couple times. I guess you played him three games over 2 days, pretty much. Was there any?
4.
4.
Oh, was it four? Oh yeah. Okay, so it's four because you played him
Yeah.
in Swiss and then twice before the finals, and then twice in the. No, sorry, once before the finals, then
So
twice in the
yeah,
finals.
so once in Swiss, once in top 8 before the finals, and then obviously twice in the finals.
Twice in the finals. Is there? I guess my question is: there anyone else that's kind of it was kind of memorable? I know you guys started with 7 a.m. your time today. I think you started the top 8. So it was a little bit early, so might
Yeah, so
not
I
be.
had to get up at 20 past 6, and I was like, oh, this is way too early. And my fiance, who was also getting up at the same time, was like, I'm not impressed with that.
Fair enough. Was there any other games that you kind of played either in Swiss or top 8 that was kind of memorable to you as being wow, this person like played really good, or there was like a really memorable turn that either you or your opponent played that you can maybe like kind of harken back to and be like, yeah, that's actually
um,
really strong that I'm thinking about
so
it.
Jacob felt really scary. Jacob, I think, is quite a bad matchup for me anyway, playing Guardian. And there was a
Mhm.
turn where I completely flubbed. I just missed my tunic,
Mhm.
like an idiot. And it almost cost. I think it almost cost me the match. Because if I'd had the tunic, I could have used that to play my Blood Rush Bellows and then discard one of the cards in hand, and then still have more attacks that I could then use for like good value later on in the turn,
Right.
since I drew only reds off of it.
Mhm.
But instead, I had to have quite a bad Blood Rush turn, and then like put myself in a position where I might lose. But I managed
Mhm.
to just sort of get there in the end. So yeah, I was kind of feeling like I probably lost this game to being an idiot
Right.
right now. Because yeah, that matchup was scary, both because it's a hard matchup and because I played like an idiot and because I feel like I got slightly unlucky towards the mid game, although getting super, super lucky on turn one was enough to get me there, even in spite of my poor decision making.
Fair enough. Great. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of people watching you are now going to want to take a brute after that performance, either in Blitz or constructed. Any tips? I mean, other than the turn 115 damage, which I think goes a long way for everybody, but
Yeah, I
any
mean,
kind of tips outside of the first turn and either building a brute deck or kind of how to play this more kind of aggressive claw style or anything along
yeah.
those lines?
So I mean, I would say clause is phenomenal. I think this is the so the brute deck in the future. That sounds way too pretentious. I think this is I think clause is probably the better brute deck in the format at the moment, based on the power of the dash deck that was destroying. Matt Rogers took it to New Zealand Nationals and he just dominated with it.
Yeah.
It's really good, and it's also really good against Warrior. It's really
Mhm.
good, and it's really good against another really top deck. So yeah, I'd say because of how good Dash is, I think the Claws build is probably the better one. Certainly in Blitz, I don't think there's any question. I think the Claws build is obviously correct, and you should just be playing it every time. Because like in Blitz, you're on much lower life, so like if you do this, it can be their whole life total. Like
Yeah.
when we were testing Brute versus Wizard, a good number of the games that I lost to Hayden playing his Brute list were on turn one, where he
Right.
went like do something, and I'm like, oh, maybe I want to like KO in response, or maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just like, okay, I'll take the Intimidate. Oh, he's intimidating my whole hand and attacking for 16. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm just dead. So yeah, I mean, I think in Blitz, you 100% want to be playing this. Also, in terms of like good brute Blitz lists, there's I think there's a game where I think it's LSV is playing against Hayden Dale on Channel Fireball. I haven't actually watched it, but I've certainly heard about it. And Hayden plays, I think it's Heart and Cross Strap, and LSV is like, oh, do you not have a tunic? And
That's
it's
a
like,
good one. I like that.
so they're not playing on TGS. They're playing like in real life. Like, I mean, he's definitely got a million tunics.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you don't want tunics back. And I think in Blitz, tunic and brute is probably just bad. Because the games tend to go way, way faster. And the barkbone strapping is like you can block and then you can use it, which is obviously really good. But the hunt and cross strap is also really terrifying, depending on like exactly how you structure your attacks, and how like how many 2-cost attacks that don't require that a discard and that kind of stuff you've got in your deck. So and even 3-cost with the riled ups and stuff. So depending on how that works out, I would say play Barkbone or Heart and Cross Strap. They're both really good. Always play Claws and Blitz. And yeah, I mean, the trickiest thing playing this in, I mean, either really, is just deciding when it's right to take damage. And that, like, that's obviously why Ninja can be really scary, because there's not really a good time to take damage. But yeah, against like Matt, how I lost in the first round of top 8 was that he like presented a bunch of good damage, and like he already had a counter on his Stormblade, and I was like, well, on my turn, if I draw even half good off this Bloodrush Bellow, then I can put him on real low life, and I can really like sit on my back here. And I drew, yeah, I mean it was half good, and I put him down to quite low life. I think I got maybe 10, and I was on like 17. So I was kind of like, well, even though his Stormblade has 2 counters now, so long as his next big turn isn't big, that's fine. He's only got 4 cards, probably not that bad. And his next turn was amazing. And it just, it crushed me. And he got a 3rd counter on Dawn. I mean, that's, you can tell it's not going well, right? When your warrior opponent has 3 counters on their Dawnblade.
Yeah.
It's a good sign that you're losing that game. Yeah, I think really the trickiest thing is just figuring out when it's good to block versus when it's good to just take a hit and go, yeah, I'm just going to take all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I played against Dante, I played him a couple of times. He playing Dash, and afterwards he
Mm-hmm.
was like, I really don't like this game. It felt like you were just never blocking, and I was like, oh, I feel scared or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's like if getting in for not very much damage, it can be worth just being like, okay, well, you can have me for as much as you want because what I'm doing on my turn is way scary. And obviously
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of true of Fab generally. But yeah, in Brute, there's a lot more kind of taking hits and um, yeah, I guess just practice is the only way to really get better with that. When I was first playing it, I was taking way too many hits, not
Mm-hmm.
like blocking enough, and just being like, oh yeah, no, I'll get back in for lots. Like, no, this is bad. Should be blocking more and like set up a turn.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so yeah, I don't actually think this deck is aggressive. It's more explosive, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like
Yeah,
you're not like always getting in for lots of damage. You're kind of trying to set up big turns. If that
sure.
makes sense.
No, it does. We got just one question on the stream here from Adam. How useful do you find Art of War in the deck?
Um, So I mean, I'm not quite as in love with it as Jason, who made most of the list is. He's all over it, right? That the blue Savage Feast is in there because he's like, well, you can Art of War wear it and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Certainly you can pitch it to play Art of War. So not as excited as he is, but still, I mean, it's really good. I mean, it's like a bad Blood Rush Bellows. Um,
Right,
in that it lets you kind of do a semi big turn rather than a really big turn. But Blood Rush Billows is the best card, so a bad one is still pretty good.
right. Fair enough. Okay, so not in love with it, but it definitely is still useful in the deck outside of the
It does work. I was bringing
colors.
some of them out against Warrior actually, and they all
Mm-hmm.
come out against Ninja because they're terrible. They don't block. Um, but yeah, 1 to 2 of them was coming out against Warrior. They're mostly good in matchups where you want to like do massive turns and not necessarily block with that many cards. So they're good like against Bravo. They're really good against Dash. Probably good
Sure.
against Viserai and Kano. Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
Fair enough.
against Warrior, yeah, they're okay.
Do you
Okay.
only run one Blood Rush Bellows? No, never mind that.
No, there's three
No, no,
Bloodrush
there's
Bellows.
three. No, no, of course. I really like
Yeah,
that card in this deck with those claws because it turns those 3/3s into 4/4s real quick. Right? Because that goes for all your attacks, right? This one.
yeah.
The
So
next plus
this one's
two
all your
damage. Turns
brute
into
attack.
sorry, it turns them into 5/5s.
It's
So
five.
it's a big difference from
Oh
if you have the
yeah,
club, it's just one attack. But if you happen to discard the card, you now get to play. This is more threatening. It's going to 10 damage potentially if they're just not blocking or if they're
yeah,
holding cards. So it's
yeah,
like a nice little poke. And then same thing with the Art of War. When I was just hearing you say that your attacks get plus 1 damage. So it's
yeah. That's only attack action card,
sorry.
unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
That's only attack action card, unfortunately, so it doesn't get your claws. That's why Art of War, sometimes comes out. Otherwise, it'd be like, yep, I'm all over this, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is a lot worse than this. This is the best card in the deck, though, so everything's worse than
I will say
that.
that
Blood
I
Rush Bellows,
originally was playing Wizard and I wanted to think a lot
yeah,
less. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to just play Brute because he's a big green guy and it's probably really easy. And it ended up thinking twice as much as I thought I would have to because I feel like you have
yeah,
to,
yeah,
like, especially with any card that he has that's discarding cards from your hand, sometimes I feel like you have to. Um, it's like doing taxes, like I want this card to go down because I want to try to have
yeah,
to discard one of these two cards. So I'm going to narrow down my numbers. So I pitch this, play this. One of these two options are going to be the ones I discard. Guarantee that they're going to lose a card in their hand, or I'm going to get Blood Rush to pop or whatever. Like I like to play the turn where I throw down the Blood Rush Bellows and discard my Beast Within. So then I get like a whole bunch of card draw.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's everything amazing. Yeah, I mean, so I still find playing Wizard, depending on how you're playing the Wizard, to be maybe a little bit trickier. But I've played a ton of Wizard, so I feel like that might be just more that I understand Wizard better, whereas Brute I'm probably making misplays I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier that I lost making top 8 on the calling because I failed to do math with Wizard, which isn't a hard play. That's just I
Mm-hmm.
was being an idiot, right? Um, like I had the win, and I just completely flubbed it.
In the interview
Um,
that we did with Jesse, I asked him like, how do you approach the Brute matchup with Wizard? And he said you kind of just go into a corner and go into fetal position and hope that the brute doesn't kill you. So I guess initially saying that it's maybe his worst matchup.
Really? So I don't really, yeah. When I was playing Wizard and Constructed, I was finding like Dash to be terrifying, right? Because they can have so much null room without really sacrificing anything. I'm like, okay, well, this is gross. But I was playing really badly then, so who knows? When I was playing Brute and Blitz, I was finding Wizard to be reasonably difficult. Although, I mean, the testing was so strange. Like one night I'd win 4 matches in a row, and then the other night Hayden would, beat me 5-1 or something, right? And like, well, it's really hard to tell how good this is one way or the other. So it's kind of, I don't really know about Brute versus Wizard. It can depend a lot on how the person's playing the matchup. When we were first trying it, I mean, again, this is Blitz, so it's, how applicable it is to Constructed. It's kind of meh. Or Classic, sorry. I don't want to get one of those people who calls Classic Constructed, since Blitz and Constructed both Constructed form. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were trying out the the Romping Club build versus Wizard, and we're like, okay, maybe play Romping Club versus Wizard because you need to block and then you just want to attack back for 4. And every time I played against Jason on that plan, it felt like the best matchup in the world. It felt like he just couldn't buy a game, right? Like he's just like attack for 4. I'm like, okay, I'll either block for 6 and then burn you for 6. Who cares? Or I'll block for 3 and then do something else that's also offensively scary. Like it just felt like he had no good options, and like you're just burning him and he's using most of his hand, and then he's attacking back for very little, and like sometimes you can just be like, I'll just take it, and then on your turn I'll burn you for a ton more. But there's obviously going to be way different in Classic Constructed, because like you got so much more life. Like 20 life's so little that if you're if you don't understand how to play against Wizard and Blitz, then you can die before you get a second turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were playing some testing games for Blitz, kind of before Blitz was kind of popular, like at New Zealand Nationals, when it was just kind of becoming a thing. And I was playing against a friend of mine who had decided to play no null rune against Wizard. I think that's quite bad.
That's a GG. That's a
and
GG right
like
there.
he's just like, oh, I'll just out aggro you. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how that works out for you. So every game he started, except I think 1, he lost, and he lost usually in most of those games before he got to play anything on a second turn. So he'd be like, do some stuff. I'm like, yeah, take all of it. On your turn, burn you for a ton. Untap. That's not the wrong game. My turn, draw back up, burn you for a ton. Your turn, draw back up, burn you for some more. So like how you're playing the matchup, it makes so much difference in terms of how good the matchups are. It's I don't know. That's one thing that's really cool about Fab, is that like the level of kind of variance is way lower, especially in Classic Constructed, because you get to see more cards and you get way more decisions every game. So depending on what plan you're on, it can really make all the difference in the world. I mean, we were, this is another Blitz story, just because I've mostly played Blitz. I've only, when you guys announced this tournament, I immediately messaged Hayden Dale and said, hey, can you teach me how to play Classic Constructed, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
and
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And here you are, you won it.
Yeah, well, he's a good teacher.
You're an astute observer.
So yeah, like when we were playing against Ira in like testing and Blitz, with Kano, we were like, okay, this matchup's terrible, we can't win. And then Jason's like, okay, let's change these like 3 cards and change the plan we're on. And we're like, oh, this matchup's amazing, we can't lose. And then our friends changed how they were playing the Ira matchup. I'm like, oh, we can't win again. Like, it's real interesting. And the amount of play there is and the amount of decisions there is in a game, and the amount of like difference just playing a deck in a different way makes, it's just so important. So I had no idea how Wizard plays against Brute in Classic Constructed. I suppose it depends on the Wizard and the Brute.
Roger. So I wanted to say thanks so much for joining us and taking even more of your time to sit down and go through your deck. Eric, did you have any final questions you want to ask Dan while he's here?
No, I think that's about it. Just how do you like, probably one of the first international playing against people from all across the world? Bit of a different experience.
Yeah, this was awesome. I absolutely love playing like competitive card games. Obviously, it's better in person. This is meant to be an in
Mhm.
person kind of thing. But given that how much of the world is in lockdown, and also all Matt Rogers and Jacob and stuff, they've just gone back into a 1 week lockdown up in Auckland. So
This is the perfect storm.
being able to play with all those people and like making it work, even with the challenges of like Discord and stuff, it was awesome. And thank you guys so much for running this event. It was really really fun to do.
We'll have another
Um,
one in June.
and yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll be there. Um,
Oh, you kind of have
I'll
to now.
probably
You
have
got
to
to
check
defend your
that.
title.
Well, I might have to check when it is and whether I have work the next morning. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well,
Assuming I can play,
we'll
I almost
try to
certainly
keep
can.
the New Zealand time and days better in mind, so that like the crux of most of the players are in New Zealand for the game at the moment. It might change in the next couple of months, right? Maybe if there's less restrictions over here in North
Yeah,
America,
yeah,
maybe we'll see more players coming out. But I like to
yeah.
think that this
Maybe,
game's still very young, and it might drastically
yeah,
change after a Monarch comes out, because we don't know what new cards are coming.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm really excited to see, how we go forward and like more people picking up the game in more countries. Yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to run this event. It's so cool. Like having proper events to play is basically why I got into Flesh and Blood in the first place, just because I've been kind of missing that and maybe some other games that might remain nameless. Um, and it's just awesome having this kind of event where we can play with people from all around the world, where we can come together and have a great time. It's fantastic, and thanks a ton for doing that, guys.
And you know what? On that note, I think we'll let you go here, and we thank you,
Sure.
and hopefully we see you in the champions chair next event.
Oh, I hope that too.
well, you we'll need to grab your info so we can get the cards to you and
Yeah,
to send you out your
yeah,
prizing. But yeah, no, you're the guy to beat now in the next event. So be careful. All right. Well,
yeah.
anyways,
Gonna get some more practice.
there you go. You're gonna have to play this deck or perhaps your new deck a lot more. All right. Thank you so much, and
Yeah,
we'll let you go here. Eric, thank you for conducting this interview here, and all this stuff will be available on our YouTube, probably within the next 48 hours. So, depending on how fast we can get these thumbnails made. So again, thanks so much for playing, and any last words that you wanted to have there, Dan?
no, I think I've
Talk
rambled on for long enough.
talk yourself to death.
Yeah, thanks again
All right, lad.
for
Well,
the
on
event.
behalf of all the brutes out there, thank you. All right. Take care. Bye bye.